like, you should see this. I was like, she had gotten awesome married to New York to Philadelphia, and they were like, this is really
Yeah, same in Pittsburgh, Philly, same way. As soon as you get like outside of the city, what you can get for is just crazy.
Hi,
Terry.
how are you? Glad to see you today.
Yeah. Wild drive.
Is it raining out?
Just started actually.
Do you live nearby to get home?
Not really.
You do? You have to like
Well, I have to go back.
okay.
We're making that. So you go down and come the whole way back up.
You live in Manchester, New Hampshire? Manchester by the sea? Okay. You get embarrassed. Yeah, it's alright.
Wouldn't you want this project?
That's why, no, I don't think it's our project. I think it's
Good evening, everyone. This is a subcommittee meeting of the Transportation Subcommittee. We're here to get an update on some projects from the transportation engineer, as well as get an update from Mass Department of Transportation, Mass Highway Division, regarding the intersection improvements from Gorham Street to the Lowell Connector. Mr. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Chairman Elliott.
Here.
Counsel Cirillo.
Here.
Counsel Conway.
Here.
3 present.
With that, if there's no objection from the members of the subcommittee, can we please just have Natasha Vance please come up, and why don't we start with an update on various projects. Just for the people at home watching, we're about to begin a pretty significant construction schedule with numerous projects throughout the city in perhaps every neighborhood and every major thoroughfare. But they're necessary. We all know that traffic is a source of frustration through the city, but hopefully these improvements will do a lot to mitigate that. So with that, let's go with the improvements first, and then perhaps DOT.
Okay, thank you, Counselor. Yeah, I just wanted to update residents of Lowell on a couple projects that are underway. First, the Lawrence Street Bridge over the Concord River, the contractor remobilized this week. That was a project that got put on hold because of a National Grid gas relocation that couldn't be completed. So it's going to be back to a one-lane configuration rather than 2 lanes, 1 lane in each direction. There is a temporary traffic signal in place, and so people can expect some delays for a little while. The project is anticipated to be completed prior to Memorial Day, and the 1 lane configuration won't last the entire length. It should be for another 3 to 4 weeks. Next, Central Street over Pawtucket. Right now, there are 2 lanes northbound, one is a turn lane, and 1 lane southbound. That configuration is going to change next week to be 2 lanes, 1 in each direction, so no longer 2 lanes northbound. There will be 2 lanes of traffic in each direction for the duration of the construction, which is about 30 months long, but it's necessary in order for the bridge to be repaired. The Market Street Bridge, that is remobilizing in the next few weeks. It really only needs finished paving, and the expectation is that will be completed by the end of April. And then lastly, Pawtucket over the Northern Canal, Pawtucket Street over the Northern Canal. On April 25th, there will be an overnight closure of Father Morissette Boulevard from Aiken up to University. That is to bring in a large crane and steel for erecting the bridge. It will be closed from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. and hopefully will not have a great deal of impact on traffic. There will be a detour set up, but again, that's Pawtucket Street over the Northern Canal on April 25th. And then we will send out, there will be variable message boards notifying everybody of that closure, and we'll send out some emails. That is all of my construction updates, and with that, I can turn it back over to Councilor Elliott.
Okay, do you have any questions for the transportation engineer on that? So those are projects that are currently under construction. Any chance you could give us an update on
Correct.
Things like the Lord Overpass, the construction on Rogers Street, any other major bridge construction projects?
Sure. So the Lord Overpass, we're almost at 100% plan specs and estimate that we expect that May 1st, and we expect it to go out to bid May 9th. So we're getting very close to the start of construction for that project. Obviously, it would have to be awarded, and then We would anticipate construction late summer, early fall on the Lord Overpass to begin. And as you know, there are a number of phases for the traffic management plan, and we will keep residents informed of those changes as we progress through the project. Route 38
How long is the construction schedule on that?
We are anticipating about 36 months, but again, that will be something we'll have more detail on when we have a contractor on board, because they will set a schedule. We're anticipating most of that construction will happen at night, but there will be significantly less capacity for vehicles through the interchange while it's being redone.
Are these bridges design bid build?
The Lord Overpass, or, yes, it is design bid build.
Same thing with the construction projects on Route 38?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and 38 while we're
Yep.
speaking?
Route 38, there should be a pre-con meeting in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Spoke with MassDOT a couple weeks ago. They had only recently awarded the contract, and they're still finalizing the contract, so I don't believe the contractor's name has even been made public. But once that project starts, it's about somewhere to 12 to 18 month timeframe for construction. And again, we'd anticipate that would start this summer. It's my understanding they plan to do the box widening first, which would be the stretch next to Kittredge Park, and then, and the two intersections, Andover and Nesmith and East Merrimack and Nesmith, and then the other two intersection improvements, which would be Phoenix and Douglas, and then Boylston, Fairmont, Laurel.
Great. Anything else?
Was there one other project you asked me about?
Those are the two major.
Yeah, those are the big ones that are coming. Yep.
Tiger Grant bridges?
So the bridge I mentioned, Central Street over Pawtucket, is a Tiger Bridge, and Pawtucket over Northern. So Merrimack over the Merrimack is the first Tiger Bridge that's been completed. That's the one across from the subway. It has the 2022 date on it, so that's when all the bridges will be complete. The other four are ongoing, and some will be done sooner rather than others. Do you want specific dates or anticipated dates for that?
I think it'd be helpful while we're
Okay.
here.
Merrimack Street over the Western Canal, completion is anticipated October 2019. Pawtucket Street over Northern, that's the one that has the closure on Father Morissette on April 25th. Bridge completions anticipated November of 2020. Central Street over Pawtucket Canal, which is about to have the traffic pattern change next week. That is anticipated a completion September of 2021. And then lastly, Pawtucket Street over Pawtucket Canal, bridge completion is April 2022. And that's about to get underway in the next probably 6 weeks. So we'll have an update on that.
So the Central Street over Pawtucket, that is right in the heart
Right in the heart of
downtown.
downtown, yes.
You said it's a 36-month project?
That's a 30-month project.
30, and
Yeah.
so lane closures?
There's one lane will be closed. Currently, there are two northbound lanes and one southbound lane. So one of the northbound lanes will be closed so that they can work on one side of the bridge. And as the bridge is being constructed, they'll shift those lane alignments, but there will always be a lane in and out.
That's gonna be a nightmare.
It
I
is.
mean, it's a nightmare now to
Sure.
get moving. Are there any thoughts to restrict any traffic going over there? 30 months is
Yeah.
naturally a long time.
So when DPD was working on the project, we did look at closing the bridge to see if it could be constructed, and it could be constructed in 12 months if it was completely closed, but that didn't seem to be at all a feasible option. It's just a difficult location, and people are going to have to leave a little early, give themselves a little extra time, or try to find another route into downtown.
I guess my thought or question to you is it worth shutting down, say, a left from Merrimack Street to cross southbound on Central Street? Does it eliminate, I know it means changing signals, but
Yeah.
I just foresee, and I'm sure you do, lots of traffic, lots of backup, lots of
Yes.
kind of gridlock, if you will.
Yeah, I have not looked in any great detail at altering other circulation patterns to accommodate for that. I can take a look at that and discuss it with the Tiger Bridge project manager and see if there's something we think could help improve that situation.
Not trying to do this last minute.
No, I
just-
understand.
just
It's-
knowing
yeah.
the volume of traffic that exists now, and,
It's a concern, for sure.
right. When's the construction begin on that? I know it's complete in 2021. When is?
So next week is
Oh,
when,
next week?
yeah, basically it's going to be underway. Yep.
Okay, those are the questions I have.
Okay.
Ms. Rillo or Mr. Conway? No, Council Mercia?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the traffic engineer, someone that has a business in the immediate area of the lot overpass told me that they heard a top official, I don't believe it was you, say that the filling in of the lot overpass is because of pedestrian priority over traffic priority.
Yeah.
That's, do
That's,
you,
no, that's not the reason that it's a so there are a number of reasons why we opted to, rather than replacing the bridges, going with the fill option. One of them is that there are long-term maintenance costs for bridges that we don't have for roadways. So DPW would have 2 less bridges to maintain, and there are, I believe, I don't know, a significant number of bridges in the city in the, I believe I'm going to say 100, but I may be wrong about that. Sorry?
We have 120 bridges? 115 official bridges?
And then major culverts are sometimes counted as bridges. Oh, that's in addition. So, and then additional major, so being able to eliminate 2.
We don't have to maintain them, i.e., I mean, I know the new Tiger bridges, money with the Tiger grant, we do, but Lawrence Street Bridge, I mean,
Yeah, so every bridge requires maintenance, inspection through, they're planned for a certain lifespan of, say, 50 years, and we are obligated to maintain them so that they maintain their structural integrity, and that includes, the bridge deck and the substructure and superstructure.
should we get a list of those bridges? That number makes me nervous only because of the future maintenance costs that, I'm presuming some of them Mass Highway and,
Well, I think these are city-owned.
Hi, Christine Clancy, city engineer. So these 115 bridges are what's in the city. They are not all owned and maintained by the city. They are some Mass DOT, some city, and I believe also some are owned by third parties. We can get that list to you.
that'll be good to have, just so we know moving forward before, I mean, we have seen what happens when any one bridge closes, not only in the main thoroughfare, but even in the neighborhoods, it's significant, so.
Sure,
Okay.
we can
So-
get that list.
I'm not really through. So what, are we saying that we're filling in the bridge so that we don't have to, we're filling in the lot overpass so that we don't have to worry about maintaining a bridge?
Well, that was part of the decision-making process, but another big part of it was the start, initially, to replace the Lord Overpass, we were looking at just replacing the bridges in kind. But with the Justice Center development and the traffic that was going to be generated by that development, it was a MEPA requirement that we extend the Jackson Street interchange so that it connected. And when that happened, it became virtually impossible to maintain the ramps from the overpass to turn, because people need to be able to turn onto Jackson Street to get to the Justice Center. So that was actually the starting point of looking at what the best solution was. Our design consultant looked at a number of options with maintaining the bridges, keeping the bridges and keeping the overpass, keeping the underpass and keeping the ramps, and it was just not feasible from both a public safety perspective for turning vehicles and vehicles coming down off the ramp, because that's a merge point and a conflict point. And then there were a number of other considerations, but pedestrian infrastructure was not the driving force behind that decision.
Well, I still can't fathom the fact that it'll make traffic smoother by filling in and bringing all those people that travel by car underneath that bridge to put them up to meet more traffic. I don't see it. I know that I've talked to people that are much smarter than me, and they say that it's going to be the best thing to fill in the lot overpass. I still don't see it. I don't know, maybe it's me, I don't see it.
So, Councilor Mercier, I think it's it's not going to reduce the congestion in that section. It is like, but there will be a lot more turning lanes. There will be, the lights will all be coordinated and synchronized, and I don't know if I'm trying to think of the right way to say it.
I will tell you that the widening of Thorndike Street to get onto the Lowell connector, it seems to be 5 lanes now. That, to me, has improved it.
Yeah,
that
I agree.
Honestly has improved it. But to fill in the lot overpass, I don't see the improvement. Maybe it's me, and maybe in time I'll see it, but I don't see it.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't.
Yeah, no, and I think in addition, the sister project to the project MassDOT is going to talk about tonight, which is putting 2 lanes onto the connector south of the Gallagher Terminal. That will also improve traffic through that section. So it's a combination of 3 different pieces of the project, and there is it's a balancing act with trying to balance out the increase in traffic for the Justice Center, providing transit lanes, and meeting our complete streets policy.
But I will say for the record, and this council had a chance today to go to Sal Lepoli's and see the beautiful fruition of market rate home housing, and also restaurants and businesses that are going to be there. And it did my heart good to know that you helped a business developer to take a left turn at that area.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very pleased and grateful, because it was contingent upon him sinking more money into the city, and I think that is a remarkable accomplishment, and so thank you for doing that.
Okay.
All set?
Yep, thank you.
Councilor Conway.
Yeah, thank you. Just for clarification, you mentioned 115 bridges. When you compiled that list, can you divide that up on what bridges we're responsible for? And these bridges that we're responsible for, is there a certain amount of money that's allotted each year for upkeep on those, or is there a cycle for that? Excuse me.
We don't know a lot.
I know.
So that's something that we are looking at right now, is to see how we can maintain our city-owned bridges, to see what we do each year, go after capital requests, and then also look at maintenance. So that's something that we are, I guess it's evolving, I would say, since I've been here since August. But the spreadsheet we have will show you the all 115 bridges. There's also some additional culverts. And then the ownership of those. And we do have, Mass DOT does do inspections on all the bridges, and we do get inspection reports. So we also use those bridge reports to help prioritize either maintenance or, more capital improvements.
Thank you for the info.
Thank you. Councilor Cirillo.
Hi, yes, thank you. I know that we have received the Tiger Grant. It's fantastic. Could we look into other grants to support the infrastructure of the other bridges? I think that's important to continue with all that grant money that is hopefully out there.
Yeah,
so thank you.
We try to apply for as many grants that are feasible for both new projects, and I think it's often difficult to find maintenance grants, but we're definitely actively pursuing money that's available.
Thank you.
There is another culvert grant that we are going after right now. We're looking into it because we do have, in addition to bridges, we have culverts that do need maintenance and rehabilitation. So that's something that we're looking at right now. As far as the Tiger grants, I think that was maybe a little unique, and if something like that comes about, that'd be great. But we are open to, definitely want to pursue grants for rehabilitation.
Fantastic, thank you.
Is Chapter 90 supposed to be dedicated for any bridge O&M?
Not for O&M. It's really meant for the streets. As far as it, I guess I can look into that further just to see. Usually we use it more for the streets and sidewalks. So in terms of
Right.
streets over bridges, but in terms of the actual bridge structural, that's something I have to get back to you on.
Right, well, I think it'd perhaps be important to find some state source of bridge funding.
Yeah, a lot of our Chapter 90 is so focused on the roadways because we also have the roadways to maintain. So we really try to stretch that out along the roadways and then try to see other sources for bridges.
Okay, good, all set? Okay, well, speaking of the state and maybe potential funding sources, that's a good segue, I think. It wasn't planned that way. So the next part of the subcommittee meeting would be a presentation from Mass DOT Highway Division. Just name.
Hi, my name is Carrie LaValle. I'm the Senior Project Manager at Mass DOT out of the Boston headquarters. I'm the project manager on this project. We have CDR McGuire as our design consultant that we've hired to do the design work on on this project. This project is at a very early design stage, but we thought it was worthwhile to bring two alternatives to this group to see your opinion on how you thought those alternatives would work in the area. We did go back and forth with the city prior to this to kind of get their input. We had quite a few alternatives initially.
So if I could just interrupt, if you could just describe a little bit for the people at home, this is at the end of the Lowell connector.
Correct, it's at the end of the
where
Lowell
we have
connector.
seen hundreds of
Correct.
accidents, and and there's been great improvements on the connector with lighting, et cetera, but it's still a dangerous roadway, and so.
Yep. So this is at the intersection of Gorham Street and the Lowell connector, and the reason this project was initiated was because it is a high crash location, not just in Lowell, but in this entire region. It's one of the highest crash locations. And that's where this project was initiated. We did a road safety audit quite a few years ago, and what that consists of is we had emergency personnel, city officials, and also engineers from our department attend and kind of give an overview of the type of accidents that were occurring in that area and maybe some suggestions on how we could improve that area to reduce the amount of accidents for all users, not just vehicles, but also pedestrians and bicyclists. Based on that information, that's how the two alternatives that our design consultant is presenting, that's how we got to that stage. We've also had them do survey and take traffic counts for the area to get an idea of the flow of traffic and the volume of traffic in that area. So at this point, to kind of go more into detail on the alternatives, I'm going to hand it over to our design consultant. And then I will be staying here for questions.
I don't want to skip through.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Or ask questions that were probably in the presentation, but you mentioned traffic counts or surveys. Do you have any, can you give us some of the data on traffic counts or exactly what you may have availed?
I can hold on, did you guys bring counts?
That's what I wasn't sure if it was forthcoming, but I didn't want to.
I can forward the information to you guys after this meeting. I just don't know, we didn't bring it with us today.
Do you have a general idea what the traffic count is, just say from people coming into the city?
It's pretty high, and the majority of them are going off of the connector and taking that left turn.
Correct.
That I can tell you. I can't give you the exact number because I don't want to give you the wrong number, but I can forward you the information when I go in the office tomorrow
Great.
morning.
That'll be helpful just for us.
Of course.
As we sort through the proposals and moving forward. I'm kind of just curious. We know the volume is significant, but exactly what is that?
Of course, yeah. I can
Okay,
send
great.
that to you.
Thank you. Let me recognize Councilor Noon has joined us, who is here. Do you have anything, Councilor? No?
Oh, okay. Sorry to interrupt. We do have the existing counts. I can give you the average annual daily one for Gorham Street, north of the connector, is 23,130. Yeah, well done. Yeah. South of the Lowell connector, it's lower, but that's, I can give you Gorham Street, south of the Lowell connector, it's about 5,000. Lowell connector eastbound, west of Gorham Street, it's about 10,000. Same going westbound and eastbound, it's approximately the same. On Thorndike Street northbound, it's about 10,000. On Thorndike Street southbound, this is about 7,000. The Lowell connector off-ramp to Thorndike Street going northbound is $10,600, and the Lowell connector off-ramp to Thorndike Street southbound is very low, it's about $1,500.
So you could essentially say there's close to 34,000 cars
Yep.
going northbound, getting off both Thorndike and the end of the connector. That's a
Yep.
lot of cars. And I get the lower numbers because those are the people entering the connector from various
Correct.
entry points. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
That way. Okay, all right. Good evening, councilors. I'm Greg Blake with CDR McGuire. As Carrie mentioned, with a consulting firm that's doing the design, has been doing the study and will be doing the design for the project. I have with me tonight Joe Sasso and Matt Amarillo from our office down in Milton. Joe's a PTOE and he's worked a lot on the study, so he's more familiar with the numbers than I am. And we did bring this study, so further on in the Q&A we can answer more of your specific type questions.
I'm sorry, could you explain PTOE
PTOE,
project?
traffic operation engineer, professional traffic operation.
Sorry.
Something I'm still working on, but I do have the PE. But so tonight, just going to give you a brief overview of the project. As Carrie mentioned, we're currently in the post-alternatives analysis stage, not quite into 25% design, but that's where we're looking to go, and we're looking to gain consensus with the city of Lowell with the projection of the project and where it wants to go and what it needs to be. And it is to address the intersection and corridor improvements. I'll give you the project location here. As you suspected, the intersection of the connector with Gorham Street and northward up to Elm and Highland intersection just before the courthouse, and then just to the south of the intersection. And I will say it's interesting to work on a project that has its own Wikipedia page that is dedicated to how dangerous this intersection is and how dangerous the Lowell connector is. So I thought that was kind of pretty interesting. There's a little side note there. So why do we need the project? Well, I think as you all have stated, it's pretty obvious. We have a pretty serious safety issue at the intersection. Not only the crash issues and the merging type issues that are right there at the intersection itself, where you're trying to get two lanes turning left into a very short 100+ foot area to merge into one lane heading north toward Highland. But you also have congestion along the corridor itself because of those narrow lanes and kind of the random, somewhat random on-street parking and what have you, which leads to some of the congestion. And I kind of think congestion and capacity kind of go hand in hand, so capacity-related issues are there as well. You don't have optimal signal timing with cars trying to make their way north and south, and just all in that one little congested 1,000 feet or so. It's just a real issue. So the goals of the project, obviously intersection safety is number one, trying to mitigate the abrupt termination of the connector. I did see an old map of where the connector was going to go once upon a time. It's going to go right through and all the way downtown, and that's pretty neat to look at. But it does terminate where it is today, and that's been a problem, and one that the DOT, and as Carrie mentioned, the high crash rates that we're going to try and mitigate that abrupt termination. And again, I think you have 140 feet maybe of actual merge length as you take that double left today to try and get into a single lane configuration heading north. So that's first and foremost the intersection safety, and not just for the vehicles, but for pedestrians as well, and any bicyclists that happen to be out there. So the congestion that results from that, the single lane heading north, you have also the signals that are along there. Again, the timing of those isn't optimal right now because you don't have an optimal traffic flow coming off the connector into Gorham Street itself. So we're looking to improve that. And the addition, there is not a lot of real estate out there. There is an actual 50-foot right-of-way, but in terms of vehicular space out there today, there's not a lot of real estate. It's pretty tight. So that's what we're looking to add a lane from the intersection northbound up to Highland, and then a merge lane just north of Highland as you go past the courthouse. We're trying to do that, minimizing impact, trying to keep project costs down. If we don't have to get into a complete sidewalk type reconstruction kind of thing, if we can, and talking with Natasha, if we can figure out a way of, you know, maybe micro milling, paving, and then striping out 3 appropriate lanes so we can get traffic flowing, and then do a shared arrangement with bikes or what have you. You know, that's something we can work out for the congestion, which again filters down to the capacity related issues. Once we can get things flowing more freely, we can get the signals timed, or in the case of what our preferred alternative came out to be, which is the roundabout, you have that kind of free-flowing motion of vehicles, and then you don't have to worry about timing so much with the signals. So the scope of the project, we did go through an alternatives analysis report over the last year. There were a number of alternatives that were looked at, you know, physically moving the location of the intersection, the do-nothing alternative, which is always thrown in there in a study, the roundabout alternative. There was probably 3 dozen alternatives that initially started out. Those were narrowed down to 12, and those dozen were then went through a big matrix of different weights and ratings, and the 2 alternatives that floated to the top, and our preferred alternative is the roundabout, which we call Alt 4B, and the second viable alternative, which relies on another signalized intersection, just moving it a little down to the south, and a traditional T intersection, which we call the Alt 2B. The other scope of the project, again, to address the timing and the other capacity and congestion issues, looking at the Elm Street and Highland Street intersection, what we can do for timing and improvements there, running the 2 lanes up to there and then through, and then reducing back down to a single lane. And then the corridor itself, from Highland all the way down to just south of where the connector comes in today, getting the 2 lanes up through there, restriping everything accordingly, and getting everything to flow more efficiently in a north-south direction. So here's just a visual of the roundabout alternative. Fortunately, the way the connector comes in and the way it's arranged, there is a good amount of green space and real estate within the paved areas to shift away from Gorham and put the roundabout, an appropriately sized roundabout, just to the west of Gorham Street, where you can take the current 2 lanes coming off the connector, put them into the 2-lane roundabout configuration, and everything flows pretty smoothly after there.
Council Cirillo?
Yep.
Hi, yes, thank you. I just want to be sure that both of these options adhere to our multimodal complete streets policy. Will they both options will adhere to that?
Correct, yes, that was part of the alternative study.
Okay,
So the one thing, the one thing I'll state is we also have a pretty extensive complete streets policy as part of MassDOT's policy. Due to the restricted real estate in the area, we did look at adding a bike lane, but it wouldn't be feasible because of how narrow the area is. So sharrows and signage will be provided, but the consultant will have to submit a design exception report because they can't do a full bike lane and shoulder.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, forgot to mention that. And so that'll be carried through the whole corridor from just south of the, where the planned roundabout would be up north to the Highland Elm intersection. So with the roundabout, there are a number of pros with the roundabout. Studies have shown that it vastly improved its safety over a traditional signalized intersection, a great reduction in fatalities, reduction in injuries, and an overall 35% reduction of crashes based on a typical four-way intersection. This one's 3-way, but for the most part, it all applies. It reduces the overall number of vehicle conflicts that you have with an intersection. The thing that I like, there's no signal equipment to maintain. Once it's done, it's in there. The slower speeds are safer for pedestrians and bicyclists as they try to make their way through the area. And it reduces vehicular delay, which on the environmental side of things, reduces fuel consumption and emissions that you get with vehicles just sitting there waiting for a light. A few of the cons with a roundabout, because pedestrians kind of have to walk around the circle as opposed to going through the circle. You do have longer pedestrian paths, but that's not too bad of a con. Typically, they are a little more expensive to construct. Yes.
Hi, I have another question.
Sorry.
I'm looking at this roundabout and I'm wondering about bicycles on it. How safe is that?
Okay, so the way bicycles are handled through a roundabout is they follow the pedestrian paths, so they don't actually, is this better?
Yeah,
Yes,
you're on
thank you.
television.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so with the roundabout, bicycles follow the pedestrian path. So they would use the crosswalk scenario and around a circle. They don't actually physically travel the circular cartway with the vehicles because the vehicles never truly stop. So because they're always moving, their expectation wouldn't be that there would be bicycles maybe crossing them, but at the pedestrian crosswalk areas is where that they would function and cross through there. And as you can see from the diagram, the crosswalks are actually closer to the circle, not out at the end of the legs, because that's where the vehicles are moving the slowest and they are more alert to what is going on around them. If those get shifted to the limits of the egresses and ingresses, that's more of the acceleration portion of the roundabout, where the expectation is you wouldn't be stopping a second time or slowing. So yeah, so they're handled through the pedestrian facilities around the roundabout.
Okay, thank you.
Council Mercia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you to this gentleman. Do you have any jurisdiction over putting guardrails anywhere? Or does it not come under your domain? Because you're talking about project goals, you're talking about intersection safety, you're talking about high crash rates. So I'm wondering if you have any jurisdiction over guardrails.
So guardrails could be established, they're usually done for slope, if you don't have a recoverable slope. And also, we could look at impact attenuators and stuff like that as we progress with the project. Right now, I'm assuming you're talking about the wall where there's a guardrail that people hit when they come right off the
Yes.
Lowell connector.
Yes.
And that's actually a huge benefit of this roundabout, is that they wouldn't be able to do that because the middle of the roundabout would prevent them. They have to come in and slow down and go around the curb. They wouldn't be able to go directly into that wall.
Well, because here's what common sense to me is. I made a motion many years ago to get a guardrail in front of the property that is hit like 9 times since I've been a city councilor. 9 times, because I counted it every single time. And I asked for a guardrail there. And they did. They put a guardrail 2 houses down that never, ever, ever gets hit in a million years. So I don't know the reasoning on that.
Well, I would have to look to see the layout line to see if it's actually city layout or if it's state layout at that exact location. But I can tell you that when we redo this project, we'll look to all the locations that guardrail would be needed. But the 2 designs we're presenting just changes the whole sight line of the vehicles coming off the Lowell connector.
Because when you come off the Lowell connector and you don't stop, you hit immediately
Right,
that
so-
house right ahead.
So these 2 designs, that's not the direction you'd be traveling now. When we
Okay.
get to the next one, you'll see
All
that the
right.
T's moved
So
further
if you could
south.
improve that, that'd be great.
Right, and
really.
that's actually, that was a huge goal of it.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you.
Good? Okay. Yeah, as Carrie just mentioned, the deflection to get into the roundabout will take you away from
Yes.
what is now the direct shot into the, the brick wall. So here's the T intersection, which again is similar to the roundabout. It's moved down to the south along Gorham Street to bring it in on a proper T intersection at 90 degrees. It maintains the double left just for capacity to get vehicles through the intersection. But then would have the similar 2-lane not widening, but the 2-lane enhancement up through to Elm and Highland Avenue. So again, this, as you come in, instead of coming straight in toward the brick wall, you're again going to be taking a slight curve to the south to come down to a traditional signalized intersection. And the pros of that, it does move, as I just mentioned, it moves the intersection further away from Highland and Elm, which not only helps to keep the cars away from the brick wall, But in the spacing of the signals along the corridor, it'll help with the timing and the different phasing of getting the north-south flow of traffic through there. There is currently a driveway signal phase at the current intersection for the one driveway that's kind of in the middle of the intersection. So by moving the light down, it does eliminate that one call signal, which helps the efficiency of the signal itself. And again, that intersection would be coordinated through the whole corridor with the set of 4 or 5 string of lights that are through that corridor. The cons, obviously, you got queues. The one queue could block the side streets if things really start to stack up. The southbound queue, if that did stack up, could block the channelized right turn onto the Lowell connector heading westbound. And again, with signals, you have the ongoing cost of maintenance and upgrades and so forth that go with your traditional signalized intersections. So to kind of wrap it up, the project milestones and the next steps of where we're at in the process. We are currently in the post-alternatives analysis phase. Again, trying to gain consensus on where we want to go. And talking with Carrie earlier today, we're looking at what would be the 25% design submittal. We're looking for this fall of 2019, followed with a design public meeting. And certainly along the way, if there are any kind of public informational meetings that the council or the city would like to hold, we're certainly willing to do that and able to do that. 75% in the winter of 2020, with 100% design submittal in the spring of 2020, with anticipated construction start in spring of 2021. And contact information is with Carrie, the project manager for MassDOT. And with that, I thank you, and time for question and answers.
Thank you. I think this is very helpful. I also think it's exciting, if you will, knowing that some of us that have been on the council for a couple of decades know that the solution has never been just a guardrail. We've talked about rumble strips, and so I'm enthusiastic. I don't know exactly what the next steps are you're looking for. I think that we'll bring this to the full city council, give them the information. I personally like the roundabout option. I'm just one of 9 city councilors, and others will speak, but I think it makes more sense. There's a lot more pros than there are cons, especially maintaining those signal lights, et cetera. Safety, I did like the statistics, 90% improvement in a reduction in, let me get the right page. 90% reduction in fatalities, 76% of injuries, 30% reduction in crashes. I think it makes some sense. So if that's any indication, I'm sure my colleagues will weigh in. But next step, you're not at 25% submission design, are you?
So I was speaking with Natasha earlier, and I think that our next step would be we would like to present the option to the public and have an info meeting to kind of get their input. We agree that we think the roundabout is the preferred alternative, but we do know that that could be a big change for a community, so we want to get their input and their buy-in on that design. And then after that, we would progress to a full 25% submission, and the review would come into the city for you guys to have a chance to comment on. Then MassDOT would again hold a public hearing after the 25% submission, because we'd have a lot more detailed information to provide.
Okay, Natasha, you want to jump in here and give us some directions?
I just wanted to let the public know that we've scheduled that public information meeting for, now I'm drawing a blank, May 8th at 6:30 at the Rogers School. I will send out emails posted on Facebook and Twitter to remind everyone, and we've also sent letters to abutters to the project to let them know.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the idea behind that meeting, as Carrie said, would to just really hear from the residents and see what their thoughts are about the roundabout, the impact to their street and versus the T intersection. So, yeah.
Ms. Cirillo, then Council Conway.
Yes.
Would that be televised at the Rogers?
I don't suppose it would be televised. I guess we could move it to council chambers if that would be preferable.
No, I thought they had the ability,
Oh.
they had the material.
Maybe. I'll look into that. I'm not sure. If it is
Used to have
available, we'll-
subcommittee meetings up there, so
Oh.
I don't know if they still have that.
Okay.
Might be a good idea so the public can see it.
for sure. I didn't know that. I'll look into that. Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you.
Council Cirillo.
What time?
6:30 PM.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so 6:30, May 8th, public
8th.
information session. Have you reached out to the Back Central Neighborhood Association?
Yes, we
They
sent,
are?
yep,
Yes, I'm
sent
sure
them an
they have.
email, trying to spread the word as much as possible so that people get input early on, before we move to 25% plans, because really, once that happens, MassDOT is sort of off and running to try and get the project designed, and as you all said, it's been a long time coming, and it's a very unsafe location, and we really want to get that fixed.
Okay, I mean, that'll be a significant undertaking, lots of traffic going through there.
For sure.
And I'm,
Well, why not just add another construction project to the docket?
there's only 30,000
Right.
cars that go through there, Council Cirillo.
Yes, I just want to say that with all the traffic improvements, there is actually a silver lining to this, which is our streets will be safer, they're going to be stronger, they're going to adhere to the complete streets policy, and connectivity will be improved. So if we can just bear with all the construction as it's happening, there is going to be a wonderful silver lining at the end.
Yeah, and I just wanted to mention with regards to the complete streets policy, the policy says that we have to evaluate as many modes of transit as we can whenever we do a transportation project. That doesn't mean we're always going to be able to accommodate every mode as much as we would like to. The city has asked MassDOT to look at whether bike infrastructure is feasible in this area. Based on their comments, it sounds like it would be not possible to put in a bike lane, but there are sidewalks and there is infrastructure, and maybe there's some room for some bike infrastructure between the roundabout and the sidewalk. I'm not sure, but we will continue to pursue that and just see if there's any options, because I know bike infrastructure is very important to the city. It's important to me personally to try and improve the network in the city.
Other questions? Recognize Councilman Milanazo has joined us as well. Further comments? Christine, city engineer.
I just have an update from our conversation earlier. We did just check the numbers, and so we do have officially 114 bridges. 37 are owned by the city, owned and maintained by the city. There are culverts that are in addition to that list, and actually we're still assessing that. But it's for bridges, 37 bridges owned by the city. But we'll give you the list that includes all 114 and who are the owners for those remaining bridges.
Okay, great. That's good information. Ms. LaValle, so we get a lot of bridges.
You do have
That
a lot
need
of
help.
I've inspected some of them.
One of them is a Rourke Bridge. Do we have any idea? Please don't say 2030.
When the temporary acro bridge will not be permanent, I can try and find out some
Okay,
information
if you could get
on
us an
that.
update.
Yeah, that's fine.
I know there was a funding for a feasibility study to ensure to make sure that the options that we developed were not going to go away. So, but thank you for joining us, and thank you for this update. We'll see you on May 8th. We'll bring this report as a report of progress to the full city council. If we could get another 4 or 5 copies just for members of the council that didn't get to
And
join.
you said you were interested in the counts. I can actually have the analysis report that has the counts and the turning movement sent to you, as well as the audit we did on the safety in the intersection, because that has all the crash data we collected, if
Right.
you were interested.
I think the numbers are helpful for us who will present this to the city council and people at home that'll be watching it. We all know there are lots of cars, lots of crashes,
Correct.
which is why you're here. So I just think this is very good news for the people that travel, and it'll bring the safety as well as relieve some of the congestion, which is frustrating for folks. So
Excellent,
good
thank you.
news. Thank you very much. Anything else? Appreciate you coming. Appreciate the update. Natasha? You have that look.
I was just wondering if any members of the public had any comments or questions that we could answer.
Yeah,
We have a
absolutely.
few more minutes.
I'm sure at the public hearing, there'll be lots of concerns and questions, and I think they'll all be positive, knowing the history of that particular location. Okay, if nothing else, we'll bring this forward as a motion, a report of progress. Motion by Council Cirillo, second by Council Conway to bring this forward as a report of progress. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And the opposed, that motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Cirillo, second by Councilor Conway. All those in favor signify by saying aye. And the
Aye.
opposed, that motion carries. This meeting stands adjourned.
Thank
Thank you all.